Have I ever mentioned how much we love chickens here on our homestead? Let me show you just a few reasons why I think chickens are one of our best investments, and why I think they're one of the best investments you can have for your homestead. How you guys doing over there? You still liking that fresh hay? We have a local rancher acquaintance, contact that we've made that offers to give us her old hay from her stalls that she mucks or we can muck. And her deal is if we're willing to muck it ourselves, if we're willing to scoop the stuff out of the stalls ourselves, we get it for free. Either that, or she can load it onto, or with a little bit of loader into the back of our truck for 10 bucks a load. But so far we've been able to do that ourselves, and this stuff was actually still decent stuff, but she couldn't use it for her other livestock. These goats aren't that picky. They're still loving that stuff. Looks like you guys are running a little bit low on water. Sorry about that. Let me get you filled up here. There you go. Almost forgot the garden scraps. I just got back from my parents' house, and they have a whole mess of stuff in their garden. They're quite the gardeners. One of the things that they had for us is a whole bunch of lettuce, a big old thick row that they had planted earlier on, and with this heat, the lettuce, as it was coming up, it just bolted. And what I mean by bolted is, instead of staying lower to the ground and being slower growing, instead it just grew a super long straight stem up, put on a few leaves on the outside, but after that point you can still eat it. Maybe you can get the leaves off of it and blend it up in something, like a smoothie of yours, to try to drown out that taste, but it's really got a bitter, not so great flavor at all, not desirable to eat. So instead what they've opted to do, they had a whole row, a thick row of that lettuce that just bolted up in this heat, and they had no use for it at that point. What we've been doing is taking a bucket over and gathering up, just pulling the lettuce up right by the root, by the stalks. You see, this is what the stalks sort of look like. See how thick they are? And the leaves, it's all very bitter to try to eat. But instead, we've been taking it and giving it to our chickens. Come and get it, guys. Look at them just go to town. Got some pulverized carrot from where my parents are making carrot juice, some old pinto beans that may have gone bad in the fridge, an old scrap piece of bread. All of this stuff was unusable for any of us to eat. So instead, what you can do, look how these guys are just going to town with it. They're scratching at it, pecking at it. Even that bread, it's gotten all soaked in probably some of the bean juice or other kinds of grossness. They don't care. Look at how happy they are. And in return, what we've been taking over to my parents, when we take those scrap buckets over, we also take with us a dozen of some of the eggs that these guys are laying. And it's the season right now, so they are just laying a ton. A lot more eggs than we can eat ourselves, than what we can come up with. my parents give us their garden scraps, and in return, the chickens take that unusable garden scrap and turn it instead into eggs. Number one reason you can keep chickens: nothing ever has to go to waste. Anything from the garden, whether that be bolted lettuce or pulverized carrot that you don't want to eat the pulp, or grass, anything that you consider waste from the garden, these guys still love and can still use, and instead they'll turn that waste product into some fresh eggs for you. Look at that. How cool is that? Going in as garden scrap, and it'll come out as some eggs. And not just any eggs, but fresh, rich, nutrient-rich, orange yolked eggs. And you can see the difference in the color of the yolk. This one is from our farm fresh, and this one is a store-bought. Look at that difference. Wow. And we've been, since it's summertime, we've been spending less and less money on scratch grain, because things are coming on in the garden, and that means not just food for us, but also food for our chickens. And so not only are you getting farm fresh eggs that are that nutrient, dark, orange colored yolk, but you're also getting it at a very decent price. You can't find eggs like that in the store, not even organic stores, which would cost you a lot more. And these guys are doing it almost for free. Looks like these guys are out of water too. All right, so you're not totally out. I'll give you a refill still though. It's a hot day. You guys surviving in the heat? This has sort of become our designated animal water spigot this year. I think I'd like to, when I have some spare time, turn this into a double spout somewhere where we can keep this hose attached to where it runs over and waters our goat water, and I can also have a spigot that just stays like this where I can fill up these chicken waters as well. Doing? You keeping cool out of the sun? Some cold stuff. Well, guys, that about does it. It's a short video, but I got to thinking about it when I was over at my parents' house. I was telling them they were giving us that old bolted lettuce, and in exchange for a dozen of our farm fresh eggs. You can't get a much better trade than that, right? You can take your garden stuff you can't use, turn it into nutrient-rich, fresh, farm fresh eggs. So this is yet another reason that we are so happy to have chickens on our homestead. And if you're ever thinking about having a homestead of your own, we highly recommend chickens as one of your first investments for livestock. They're just such a valuable asset to your land and to your table. Hopefully you got as much enjoyment out of that as I did. We'll continue to feed these guys our fresh scraps and get farm fresh eggs. And if you have any experience with the difference between store-bought eggs and farm fresh eggs, we would love to hear your feedback on it and see if you've had the same awesome results with your eggs as we have. Until next time, that about wraps it up for this video, and we hope to see you again real soon. Take it easy.